Hi, today we're going to learn how to install the Nexo Air Light Solid Tires. For this installation, we're going to need a few things. First, we're going to need our Nexo tire. We're going to need our wheel. We're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers. And we're going to need the Nexo DIY kit. Okay, let's have a look at what's inside of our Nexo DIY pack. So first, we're going to have our Nexo T-bolts. We have our Nexo installation bar. We're going to have cable ties. We have a Nexo installation guide. And we have the Nexo T-bolt caliper selection tool. Okay, let's take a moment to look at Nexo's T-bolts. The T-bolt is Ultrajet's patented safety device that's designed to keep the tire secured firmly on the rim, preventing it from rolling or being twisted off. There are 3 T-bolt sizes. We have large, small, and super small, or LSSS. The size we've written on each T-bolt in millimeters. For example, with a 26 by 1.5 tire, there are 4 sizes of L T-bolts. If you're not sure which T-bolt is going to best fit your rim, you can always check on the measurement comparison table that's included inside of Nexo's installation guide. Normally there is an ETRTO number that you can find to know the size of your rim. Okay, so we have 3 ways that we can measure the rim's width to know the best size T-bolt to pick. And the first way to do that is we're going to use a standard caliper, and we're going to measure the rim's width, and then we're going to add 3 millimeters to that measurement. So in this case, we have 18.5, and so we're going to add 3 to that and get 21.5, which is going to be the size of the T-bolt for this rim. Okay, the second way to measure the rim width is by using the T-bolt selection caliper. Similar to the standard caliper, insert it into the rim and measure outward. Once you have your measurement, make sure that you're not bending or twisting the caliper, and then take the measurement and compare it with the measurement comparison table to find the best fitting T-bolt. With the standard caliper and with the T-bolt selector caliper, if you're between 2 T-bolt sizes or you're not sure which size is the best fit, always pick the larger of the 2 T-bolt sizes. The third way to try and see which T-bolt fits the rim best is to install different T-bolt sizes and see if they'll slide after installed in the rim. So we're going to do that by starting with the 20.5 T-bolt, installing it in the rim, and then we're going to try and move it, and we can see that here it is sliding, so that means that the 20.5 T-bolt is too small for this rim. Next, we're going to try the 21.5 T-bolt, and we're going to try to slide it in the rim, and here we can see it will not slide in the rim, and so that means that we have the right fitting T-bolt for this rim. No matter which method you use to find the right fitting T-bolt, make sure to always install a T-bolt on the rim so that you know it's the best fitting T-bolt for that rim. All right, now that we have the right size T-bolt for the tire, we can begin installing the T-bolt into the tire. To do that, take a T-bolt and you're going to slide it into one of the grooves in the tire. After you've by hand installed the T-bolt into the tire, take your installation bar using the flat end and you're going to press down flat firmly on the T-bolt to make sure that it installs into the groove. You do not want to use a metal hammer, as that's going to damage the T-bolt. And make sure to use the right size T-bolt for the tire. So if it's an L T-bolt, it needs to be installed on an L tire, and an S T-bolt on an S tire. Otherwise, the tire will not be securely fastened on the rim, or you're going to have damage to your T-bolts. To correctly install the T-bolt into the tire, you need to press all the way down. This T-bolt has been installed correctly. This T-bolt is still standing out and is not installed correctly. Okay, now that we've finished installing the T-bolts into the tire, we can begin installing the tire onto the rim. And to do that, we suggest that you take a sitting position. That's going to let you use your entire body, and it's going to allow you to use your feet to keep the wheel stabilized while you're installing. The tools that you're going to need for this installation are the installation bar again, and we also suggest that you use a cable tie. The first thing that you're going to need to do is make sure that you have the correct direction of the tire installing onto the rim. To do that, find the word direction printed onto the side of the tire and make sure it's pointing in the right direction. The way that we're going to begin installing the tire is by taking one side of the bead and we're going to set it into the rim and make sure that it's fit into the rim all the way. And then with one hand, we're gonna hold the tire in place while we use the installation bar to get the other part of the bead and one T-bolt installed into the rim securely. So to do that, first we're gonna use the installation bar against one bead, and we're gonna leverage into it until the bead goes into the rim. And now with the installation bar again, we're gonna leverage into the other part of the bead. And once the bead goes into the rim securely, then we use the installation bar against the T-bolt, and we're going to leverage the T-bolt until it clicks into the rim securely. And now we have one section of the tire installed into the rim, and we keep securing it with our hand while we take the cable tie and we wrap it around to keep the tire in place on the rim. Okay, now that we have the first section of the tire installed on the rim, we're gonna begin feeding the rest of the tire onto the rim. And to do that, we're gonna use our left hand to hold the tire securely in place while we begin feeding the rest of the tire with our right hand. So as you're moving the right hand forward to slide the tire on, you're also moving your left hand forward to keep the rest of the tire in place. Now at some point, you're gonna reach a part in the tire where it just gets too tight and you can't pull it on any further with your hand. At this point, while you use your left hand to keep the tire on the rim, go back to your installation bar, and you're going to use this to begin leveraging the tire onto the rim. To do this, you slide the installation bar underneath, and you're gonna work forward section by section of the bead while you hold the tire in place with your left hand. So as you pull the tire up, then you can slide your hand forward to keep the new section in place, and then slide the installation bar forward to begin pulling more of the tire onto the rim. Okay, now that we've just about finished getting the tire all the way onto the rim, we slide over the last section, and then we actually leave the installation bar in place using our hands to still hold onto the tire. And now we need to feel along the bead and make sure that actually the bead is within the rim, and in some places it won't be, and so we need to work the tire back and make sure that it slides within the rim while the installation bar is in place. Now we can feel that on one side that the bead has gone all the way into the rim and we're still holding onto the tire, and now we can with one hand hold onto the tire and with the other hand grab the installation bar using our legs to secure the wheel, and then slide the installation bar out, still holding the tire in place and letting it settle into the rim on one side while the other side is out. We have the tire installed onto the rim, and we make sure that on one side of the rim, we have the beads and the T-bolts sitting all the way into the rim without anything popping out. We can begin working on getting the beads into the other side of the rim. So we're gonna use the installation bar again, and we're gonna focus first on getting the beads into the rim, and we're gonna leave the T-bolts for later. So to do that, take the installation bar, and you're going to leverage into each section of the bead, making sure that it sits all the way into the rim. Once you get one section of bead into the rim, you're going to skip over the T-bolt, and you're going to work on the next section of bead. After we've installed the bead into the rim, we need to go back and make sure that each section of the bead is installed all the way into the rim. We can see here that the bead is sitting into the rim correctly, but here the bead is not sitting all the way into the rim, so we need to go ahead with the installation bar again and work that bead all the way into the rim. Now that we have the bead installed all the way on this side of the rim, we're going to begin working on installing the T-bolts into the rim using the installation bar again. So to do that, we're going to hold the tire securely with one hand while using our legs to also keep the wheel in place. And then we're going to take the installation bar and we're going to leverage it in between the top of the T-bolt and the tire. Once we have that in place, we're going to use our body as well as our hands, and we're going to push down onto the T-bolt and in to make sure that it will click into place. Once we have one T-bolt in place, then we can begin working our way around the wheel and installing all of the T-bolts. Once you've finished installing the T-bolts, you want to make sure that they're all installed all the way correctly. So here you can see that we do not see any T-bolt and we don't see any bead. So that means we have correctly installed. But if we look over here, the T-bolt is still showing. So that means that this T-bolt is not completely installed, and we're going to need to go back with the installation part. Okay, now that we've installed all of the T-bolts into the rim, we're gonna remove the cable tie. And then we need to check again to make sure that all the T-bolts and beads are still sitting firmly into the rim. So to do that, we're gonna work our way around the tire, twisting and turning on the tire to see if any of the T-bolts or beads pop out. If they do, we're gonna go ahead and need to install those back in before we can use the tire. If we do not get the T-bolts in, they're gonna break off inside of the tire and we're not gonna be able to ride the bike safely. When it comes time to take off your Nexo tire, one way to do it is by using your hands to start removing the tire from the rim and then using the installation bar to get under the tire and help ply it off. So first you're going to turn the wheel towards you and grab the tire and start turning it away. Once you have removed the tire from the rim, you're going to take the installation bar and you're going to pry it underneath the tire so it can help you to remove it from the rim. As it begins to come off of the rim, you can start turning the tire around and pulling the tire off of the rim. When it comes time to remove your Nexo tire, especially if you've worn the tread all the way down and you will not be using the tire again, one option is to simply cut the tire off. To do that, you can use a knife and you will just begin slicing through the tire until you've sliced all the way through it. So let's go ahead and do that now. And now that I can feel that I'm all the way through the tire and I'm down to the rim, and I can go ahead and remove the tire. After removing the Nexo tire, the T-bolts may still be installed in the rim. Go ahead and remove these T-bolts with a needle nose plier. Feel free to use the Nexo tire again, but you need to make sure and install new T-bolts on the tire. Do not use the same T-bolts again.